I'm sure you all remember the global shipping crisis that first developed in 2020 when the world's borders closed up. Images of hundreds of container ships stuck for days outside the major ports of the world. However, now 2 years on, has the shipping supply chain crisis been fixed? In January 2022, the ports of LA, Long Beach, and Oakland were still dealing with major congestion issues that had been prevalent for a couple years. According to Windward's AI-driven insights, the impact of the congestion could be felt by the unusual average length of port calls by container vessels to these ports, which stood at 10.9 days during the first week of 2022. That's nearly twice the average of 2021. The congestion is more evident when looking at the transit time to these ports for container vessels from their previous port of call. January 2022 saw an increase of 99% in transit time compared to January 2021, and some voyages experienced a much higher average increase. Ever since the COVID pandemic, China has had huge issues with its imports and exports via sea. China has 7 of the largest 10 container ports in the world. Just recently this year, lockdowns have severely hampered China's ability to effectively import and export goods, placing significant strain on the global supply chain network. As you can see with the graph below, which compares the length of transit in April 2022 compared to April 2021, with container vessels entering the port of Shanghai. As you can see, we have had significant increases in transit times with vessels from Thailand, South Korea, Taiwan, the US, Japan, Russia, and the Philippines. So when analysing Windward's data from April 2022, container ships that were destined for the port of Ningbo, the third largest container port and close to the port of Shanghai, experienced a rise of 27% in transit times compared to the same time in 2021. Even in America, we are failing to see any relief. In April 2022, we saw the East Coast surpass the West Coast of America with freight volumes according to the marine traffic. This data is concerning considering there seems to be little evidence that the shipping supply chain network is returning to a level of normalcy. Shipping companies had a $150 billion year last year according to Bloomberg, exploiting many small businesses with incredibly high freight prices, and they're expected to stay elevated for the foreseeable future. The spot rate for a 40-foot container to the US from Asia topped $20,000 last year, up from less than $2,000 a couple years ago, and just recently it's hovering around $14,000. What's even worse is that the port congestion is causing long-term rates, setting contracts between carriers and shippers are running an estimated 200% higher than a year ago. Ocean freight carriers brought in a whopping $150 billion in estimated profits in 2021. That's a nice fold annual jump after years of difficulty in even eking at the slightest gains. A.P. Møller-Mærsk, the world's second largest container carrier, was on track for an annualized profit last year that would match or pass its combined results from the past 9 years. This extending dilemma has touched a raw nerve across the world's political spectrum as financial analysts warn that these freight costs are fueling inflation and preventing any form of recovery. Even as recently as now, Joe Biden and his team are planning to introduce a bill to alleviate supply chain bottlenecks at sea. There are 9 major ocean line shipping companies that ship from Asia to the US, Biden said recently. These companies have raised their prices by as much as 1,000%. The law aims to prevent ocean carriers from unreasonably refusing to fill open cargo space with US exports and to investigate late fees charged by container lines. However, for American importers and exporters, they will not be able to fix the heart of the issue. There are 10 companies based in Asia and Europe which control 80% of freight capacity moved globally. Despite spot rates for 20-foot containers to the US from Asia dropping 33% since last September, the costs are still 5 times higher than their 5-year average before COVID. And now many shippers have locked in contracts at double or triple that they used to pay their carriers. The shipping industry is even on target to make a record $300 billion this year. Although we're starting to see some relief within the supply chain, issues have been experiencing now for a couple years. A return to normalcy, as seen prior to the pandemic, seems to be a long way away.